All right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marquita Riley. I am the Student Programs Coordinator for SWE Headquarters. Thank you all for joining us for this SHLA Live Learning Opportunity Fireside Chat, Resilience, Career Pathways, and STEMinism with Tara Rutley and Ayanna Tinsley. First, we would like to thank our sponsors because without their generous support of this program, this event would not be possible. Lockheed Martin Corporation, Cisco Systems, Motorola Solutions, and General Motors. A few housekeeping issues that I want to kind of go over really fast is that we will have a couple sessions on deck for you all tomorrow. Hopefully you guys can see this. We will have a couple sessions that will continue to happen throughout the week. The one we have on deck for tomorrow is Exploring Career Pathways. Coming up will be Leading from the Passenger Seat, Practicing Leadership Skills at Every Level with Lanita Hostin, Thursday, October 22nd. Also happening on Thursday, October 22nd will be SWE Next Connect, Leadership Skills for College. On October 23rd, which is Friday, we will have our final session for about a week or so. Until we have our final two sessions, and that will be Networking with Fellow Sheilas, Reflect and Recap. And on November 12th, we will both have the SHLA graduation ceremony and the SWE Next Award Winners Pizza Party for all of our Week 20 winners. So just keep that in mind as you all get prepared for this session. I've sent you all a message yesterday that you all, well, I sent a message in the chat, or I might have spoken that out loud, that you all will have a handout that you all will have access to within the classroom. So please keep in mind that if you want to take any notes for any of your sessions, it will be made available after this session. You can use it to set your goals. You can record panel responses because a lot of you all are going to have some really great responses for your sessions. So you want to make sure that you're recording that. If you want to research additional resources that we share with you on this session, you might want to go ahead and write those down as well. So I am going to make sure that you all have that before the session is over. All participants will need to be muted unless you are speaking. Please use your nonverbal reactions. That would be your raise your hand, and there's a couple other ones that you might have available as well, just so that we know that you need assistance, and we'll make sure to follow up with you from there, or that you let us know that you want to speak. Although, of course, videos are optional, and trust me, we all have our Zoom backgrounds on. So we want to make sure that you're also connecting with your fellow Sheilas. So don't be afraid to give us your best Colgate smile, as you all look like you're doing right now. So make sure you have your cameras on when you can. If you have a question during this webinar, type it in the chat. My colleague Cameron Wagner and I will serve as technical support as well tonight, in addition to me moderating. So if I can't access your question, Cameron will respond to it. And also Mary Zeiss and Gisela Lamas will also be on the chats, making sure that they respond to your questions as well. So just know you are fully supported and you will not be ignored. All right, so I just wanted to take this time to go ahead and ask you guys a really quick question, and I'm going to go ahead and launch our poll. This question is going to be a would you rather. So I'm going to ask you guys, would you rather have a photographic memory or have the best social skills of all time, or would you rather have a really good teacher who doesn't like you or have a really bad teacher who likes you? So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll now. Oh, those answers are coming in. I'm going to keep this open for about another minute.
Marquita, are you able to put your PowerPoint in full screen mode, or will it work with the Zoom?
Let me see if I can do that. All right, looks like you guys are, is it in full?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay.
Oh, except I think there's some black boxes where the Zoom is.
Let me just close those out real fast. And all right, and I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here and share the results. So it looks like most of you have picked that you would rather have your social skills on point and also that you would rather have a good teacher that doesn't like you. Well, I guess that's true, because you want to make sure that even if they don't necessarily care for you, that you're getting a solid education from that teacher. You know, maybe that's why they like you so much, because you don't care so much about their teaching, how good they are as a teacher. So that is a good choice. I'm actually going to pose this to our phenomenal speakers, Tara and Ayana, as well. I haven't actually formally introduced them yet, but I want to take this time to have them answer this question really fast. So what would you guys rather have, a photographic memory or the best social skills of all time? Or would you rather have a good teacher who doesn't like you or a bad teacher who does like you?
Definitely the photographic memory, man. Looking back now, that comes in so handy.
It does. What about you, Ayana?
I think for me now, I would rather have like the best social skills of all time, because I'm like, it's so funny because I'm still like a really social person, but I also hate awkward situations, and just virtually in school, it's so hard to like meet new people. So like if I had the best social skills, I would know what to do.
True. I like to talk, so I definitely would go for that. Although I do like my solid memory, but you can count on support systems to help you out every now and again to get you where you're going. So social skills will kind of take you a little bit further. So I like your responses, guys. All right. So thank you all for participating in that Q&A real fast in that poll. All right, so now we're going to move on to our portion of our conversation where we will start our session. So this is going to be really helpful for you guys to know about. So these are your learning outcomes. So by the end of this session, you should be able to recognize that taking on challenges is inherent in the adventure of obtaining a successful engineering degree. Recognize that there are many possible careers in engineering that encompass many STEM sub-disciplines. Recognizing the wide range of valuable resources that are available when preparing for a future career in STEM. And of course, you'll be able to define what STEMinism really is and what it means to you. So now I'm going to take this time to have our illustrious speakers introduce themselves really quickly. And I'm going to begin with Ms. Tara Rutley.
Thank you, Marquita. Hi, everybody. It's good to see all of your faces. I'm Tara Rutley. I am what's called an Associate Chief Scientist for NASA at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Always wanted to work for NASA my whole life since I was in 3rd grade. And I spent 18 years at the Johnson Space Center in Houston doing engineering and science. And we'll get to talk more about that a whole lot tonight. And 2 years ago, I moved up here to headquarters in Washington, D.C. So I'm loving it.
Awesome. Miss Ayana Tinsley, you are up next.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you all. And yeah, my name is Ayana Tinsley, and I am a 17-year-old STEAM advocate and children's book author, with my greatest accomplishment so far being my first children's book to just show more diversity in STEM. And I'm also a senior in high school who is right now filling out college apps and still trying to focus on track team.
Awesome. So you have a balancing act you have to do there, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I understand. I think a lot of you all on the call would understand as well. So we will now begin asking Ayana and Tara a few questions that we think you all will find very valuable. After those questions are asked and the responses are provided, we will move on to some of the questions that you all asked as students. You guys asked those questions in the registration form, so we wanted to make sure that we covered those as well. And then you guys will follow up with asking questions live within the chat. Just make sure that you take time to really think through if the question has already been asked, and really kind of formulate something that you think will be valuable, not just for yourself, but for everyone who is on this call tonight. So you'll have plenty of time to do that after we go through the first 2 sessions. So we will be closing out with that. So without further ado, I'm going to start our first section of prepared questions. So the first one is going to be about taking on challenges. Ayana, what are some challenges that you are taking on right now? It sounds like balancing track and everything else that you have for obligations is probably one of those things.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, like just the overarching challenge I'm taking on right now, is just staying motivated through a lot of my classes being harder than expected, or just teachers not really understanding that virtual doesn't mean more homework, or just trying to fill out those college deadlines and just going through the imposter syndrome that like, yes, I deserve to like apply to these colleges and all that I'm sure a lot of my fellow peers are going through right now. And then another challenge I'm taking on is just kind of thinking about future projects, or just thinking of goals that I want to accomplish before high school, or what I think is possible.
Okay, very nice. I love that response, and it's something that we all can relate to. So I am going to ask Tara a question kind of similar. Tara, can you talk about a time when you took on a challenge that made you a better engineer?
Definitely. So the one challenge, the biggest challenge that comes to my mind came to me 2 years into NASA working as an engineer. And by the way, I never thought I was going to be a NASA engineer. I always thought I was going to be a scientist, but we'll get to that probably later. My first 2 years into NASA in 2003, I was working as a biomedical engineer, and NASA hired me to help develop exercise equipment and medical equipment for the astronauts that are living on the International Space Station. So it was a really fun job, and I was new and I was young. I was one of two females among a whole group of men in the whole organization. And I had also started working on my PhD in neuroscience at the same time while I was working. But the challenge came in February of 2003 when the Columbia space shuttle was coming in on reentry, and we had an accident that lost all the astronauts, our family, our friends on board. It shocked us to the core, but we at NASA know how to recover and be resilient. But as new engineers, I thought, oh, okay, what are we going to do now? Now that we've had a shuttle accident, first we have to mourn the loss, but now NASA has grounded all of the space shuttles till we could figure out what the problem was. So now, how do we get important equipment to the astronauts that are already living on the space station with the shuttles gone? So we had to negotiate with our Russian colleagues who also fly up and down to the space station on their own rockets. And as engineers, we had to figure out how to certify and prepare our medical and exercise equipment to launch on those Russian rockets, which we had never done before. That's the only way we were going to get our stuff up to the crew that needed it. So it took us some good effort, some good teamwork, a lot of different perspectives and different points, not just from the engineers, but from the scientists and from the operations and the safety people. And that coming together as a team and putting everything you learn in school into real life teamwork, not just a project. This is life or death now.
Yeah,
this is serious stuff. So coming together and putting all that to work, and then finally taking a breath and then continuing to mourn and then figure out what the heck happened so it doesn't happen again. That was so early in my career that changed me. And that gave me the biggest challenge ever as an engineer.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's, again, the key that you just stated is life or death. It matters, you have to put some of those other elements aside, because it really is like a team effort that's going to really determine your trajectory in that way. And that's like really serious business. So that's awesome. Very awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much for that response. And so we're going to move on to Ayana. What career path do you want to pursue right now?
Okay, so my career path, I actually wrote my college essay about this, but my career path that I want to pursue right now is actually just like a combination of science technology with either public policy or just business and arts in general. So what I see in my future right now is that I definitely want to have my own business and continue to help close the STEM gap through creative ways, and just emphasizing to students that science and STEM has connections through everything, whereas through arts, medicine, or makeup. But then kind of like
Hey,
my
girl.
whole life, I was thinking I want to be an aerospace engineer. So it's kind of just like a really weird transition, trying to transition what part of STEM I exactly want to amplify with the career I want. But I definitely still want to pursue STEM, but more towards technology and learning development sciences.
That's awesome. So you kind of want to expand the idea of what STEM means for you, because sometimes it does feel very limited where you can't really extend beyond those specific fields we always hear about. But it sounds like you want to kind of bring in those other elements of like who you are to what career you actually want to do.
Exactly. Don't
So
have
that's
to put it
like,
in a box.
yeah, no boxes over here. So that's awesome. Very good. Tara, so we're going to go ahead and move on to some possible STEM career paths. So we want to lead with you and ask you, how is your career now different than you thought it would be when you were little? And then also talk a little bit about about when you finished high school. How did that kind of change and transition?
Sure thing. And I think that it kind of plays well with what Ayana was just saying, in that I thought I wanted to do one thing, and then the world and my experiences took me broader, and it really ended up being exactly what it was supposed to be for me, and it encompassed all of STEM. But and so to Ayana's point, you don't have to. You can do it all. STEM is everything. So you don't have to. You don't necessarily have to focus in. You can be broader. Engineering needs all kinds. So the way my career is different now than when I was little, what I thought it would be. I thought by now I would be an astronaut. When I was in third grade, that's what I wanted to do. And so in high school, they would tell me growing up, well, if you want to be an astronaut or you want to work for NASA, you have to be an engineer. You have to do really well in math and study hard and be an engineer. And honestly, math was not my thing. It was not my favorite subject. It was not until I got to college that I actually saw how practical it was and how useful it was. But I actually kind of liked science better, not engineering. So in high school, my physics class, we took a 3-hour field trip over to the Johnson Space Center, and I got the chance to ask an astronaut, so what do you have to do to be an astronaut? And he said the words that changed my life, and it's what I live by now, and I'll tell you all this, you need to do this too. He said, well, chances of getting to be an astronaut are really tough. I mean, not everybody gets to fulfill that dream, but you have to do what you love along the way. Pick a career and pick your interests that you love. He's like, you'll be happy, you'll be successful, and NASA wants happy and successful people anyways. So don't waste your time doing something that just because it looks good on a resume and you know, whatever, I'm going to do this because it looks good. Don't waste your time on that. So because he said that, I actually ended up getting my bachelor's going into biology. That's what I got my undergraduate degree in. But then when I was in biology, I had some ideas to build some exercise machines for NASA as an undergraduate student that I'd liked. So I joined AIAA, the Aeronautics Institute, American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I was the only biologist in a room full of engineers, but they liked my ideas. So that's how I got to meet the engineering students. And I realized that I needed them to help create the ideas that I had in my mind. So I had these great ideas for the human body, for space, but I needed their hands and their brains and their knowledge in engineering. So I worked with them on some projects as an undergraduate. We built some machines. I got to understand and use the machine shop. And they talked me into, they said, hey, you'd make a good engineer. And I said, what? No. They talked me into getting my master's degree in mechanical engineering. That's how I ended up actually going into engineering. I was planning to just get my PhD in neuroscience, but my experience with them, and I saw how valuable they were and how valuable I was to them, I took a second and got my master's degree in mechanical engineering. So it is a deviation that you can take. You don't, again, keep that background broad. I ended up with my mechanical engineering degree. I got a minor in biomedical. And then that's why NASA ended up hiring me. They actually created a brand new system in NASA called the Biomedical Systems Division within the engineering directorate. And they said, we'd like for you to come be an engineer with us. And I said, engineer, huh? All right, let's do this. You know, because it was biomedical engineering and it was my dream job. And it was the best 8 years that I spent in engineering at NASA before moving on to science in the space station science world.
Wow, that is amazing. And just a testament to like where you can start, where your starting point is, and how you end up. And so you just kind of have to keep an open mind.
Let me tell you, I'm not at the end yet. I'm still in the middle. So I actually did apply to the astronaut program, and I got really, really close, down to the last. There were 6,000 applicants, and I was down to the last few. But I wasn't selected. But I'm not done. I'm just applying again, and I'll just keep applying. And I feel like I'm in the middle.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is really awesome.
Don't quit.
Yes, don't quit. That is very good advice.
Don't rule yourself out.
Yeah, there are many. This is just a great testament to thinking about the fact that, one, you're thinking outside the box. Two, not giving up on yourself just because everything doesn't fit in that magic box or magic number that people tell you have to fit into, and exploring some other ways to getting to where you exactly want to be. So this is awesome. Very good. Very good. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to defining STEMinism. So Ayana, what is your definition of STEMinism?
So I think my definition of STEMinism is pretty much like supporting other females in STEM in whatever endeavors, especially what Tara just told us, that whole journey she had. It was definitely a very STEMist thing to do for all those other engineers and stuff to support her through her endeavors, even though she wasn't even like majoring in engineering at the time. So I think like a broader definition of STEMinism to me would just be continuously supporting other women that would help close the STEM gap, which is pretty much the very small representation that women of color are face in STEM jobs.
Explore that a little bit more, that the things that women of color face in STEM jobs.
Yes, so I think exploring a little bit more, even tying in with experiences I've heard or my experiences, is kind of just like the identity of women of color that they have in STEM. Like growing up, for some reason, when I was like in those advanced math classes and science classes, people would say that I acted like I was Asian and things like that. And it's like, Black people can be smart too. Black people could be in these classes too. And I think that like STEMinism and all these people being allies towards that, and the more representation that's shown through scientists such as like Hidden Figures, finally showing their voice and everything, is truly what STEMinism is about. And it's just like the fact that more little Black girls and girls with hair as big as mine can feel normal in a lab with goggles, and like can feel, and like more girls can know and not be embarrassed by the struggle of putting goggles on when your hair is like this.
Listen, I get the struggle and I understand.
I know my size too. She gave me a rubber band and she's like, you need to put your hair up. And I'm like, I have my own scrunchies. It's fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, that is so awesome, and it's so relevant and necessary to give that representation to young girls who may not think that they fit into a lab, and they don't see themselves with those glasses, the goggles on, and all their beautiful hair. So it's just really, that is super important to be an inspiration to others, and to not give up on what you want, and not let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do, or who you are as a person. Like, you define that. So that's awesome. That is awesome. So Tara, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is your definition of STEMinism?
I'm going to build on everything Aliana just said. And I'm going to add that y'all out there listening, keep in mind that there's plenty for everyone. Mm-hmm. Don't go into engineering with a scarcity mindset. We're talking about STEMinism. We're talking about helping each other out, helping out the other females, the underrepresented communities. There's plenty for everyone. Collaborate. Competition's a good thing, but take a second and look around you at everyone who's working so hard to get to where you want to be as well. They all have an individual story. You all have an individual story. And if you can be the one to help out your sister get to the next step, or take her with you, or tell her how you did it, instead of keeping everything so quiet. And there's plenty to go around for everyone. There's plenty of careers. There's plenty of internships. There's plenty of good grades. There's plenty of great great salary to go around. Your engineers, your future engineers, your job is to create, and to create for the better, create for good. Now, imagine if you could could recruit and you had on your team all the different types of folks representing all kinds of different backgrounds, imagine what you could create that we haven't even created yet. So like, just exactly, I think STEMinism is a great way to say it's a big rainbow. Think about it. It started from feminism. It's expanding to those who are traditionally underrepresented. Don't forget to help them along the way. And then when you get in the position like that I'm in now, and you're looking at internships, you consider everybody. You think it through carefully. You think through the background. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do all the time, to be constantly aware and constantly be thinking, because we're just so moving through what we do every day. It's just we keep going. So focus on that. Keep it in the back of your mind. You have the power to change someone else's life. So take that seriously.
That's amazing. And that's again, a good point. I always say, you don't tell people that there's only one seat at the table. There's more than one seat at the table. Don't let anybody convince you that there's only one. There can only be one person that can make it. We are all in this fight together, and we're all trying to change the world together. So it's super important to know that what you do and the lane that you're in, it will not conflict with somebody else's lane. You guys are in two different things, and you're two different people, and you contribute in two very different ways. And it's always better when you can do it together, because then you have diversity of thought, diversity of people that you just wouldn't have if you're just by yourself running this race alone. So I think that's a very good point. Thank you both. So we're going to go ahead and move on to resources to prepare for a career in STEM. So Ayana, what resources have you used to explore career options?
So I think the biggest resource that I've used to explore my career options are honestly people I've met on Instagram. Quarantine has I'm sure a lot of us can agree that even though everything surrounding quarantine wasn't great, but the actual actual development that I'm sure we all went through ourselves was the best part. And I've been able to meet with so many other engineers or people in fields like learning and development through Instagram. And honestly, they're my best resources at exploring career options. Instagram accounts called like Women Who Engineer, Girls Genius Magazine, Engineering Gals. There's countless accounts, so easy to look up. They're the best bets at exploring career options, because you can actually talk to them. You can actually find someone who looks like you, so they can tell you like the actual experience and not just like what Wikipedia could tell you about a career. So I think like just reaching out to someone that has a similar background to you or has similar interests to you, that would be your best resource, especially through like any kind of DMs or messaging or things like that can help.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Oops, and I'm sorry, kind of skipped through. And now I can't get back. Let's go back. Sorry, guys. So we jumped a little ahead, but I want to go back to Tara. I'm going to ask you a question. What resources can you recommend to high school students who want to pursue STEM careers?
Now, my number one answer, my first thing was exactly what Ayana just said, people. They're more accessible now than ever. And so just don't be afraid to get out there and ask a question, ping someone on LinkedIn or whatever DM, whatever tool you use. But I'm going to put a shout out to your parents too. Some of you probably don't rely enough on your parents. Maybe you think, I'm a parent. And so when I was growing up, my mom didn't know what to do with me, because no one in my family had anything to do with space, but she wanted to help. So give your parents a second thought and ask them questions. They would love to help you. Even if they don't know what to do, they are like your primary resource. So ask a parent, they would feel honored. And all the people. Second, though, there's a really cool program called the National Student Leadership Conference, which go look it up, go Google it, but it offers engineering summer programs for high school students. I think they're about up to 9 days long, where you can register for, like, they have locations around the United States. So if you like to travel, you could pick a different location. You have hands-on design activities. You get to tour universities. You get to hear from engineering speakers. And also in that program, they teach you leadership development too. So the hands-on stuff is important, but like that earlier question, the social skills are really, really critical. In fact, in fact, that's like a number one thing that people look to hire for these days. So I would look up National Student Leadership Conference and look into that. And then, of course, I would also say, go and check out NASA internships, because there are internships for high school students. You have to be 16 and over to apply. But if you go to intern.nasa.gov, 16 and older, you can apply, and you can apply to different centers. We have 10 centers around the United States across all kinds of different engineering disciplines. You would do 3 semesters or 3 tours with a center. And after that, it qualifies you to get hired for NASA. So that's a good way to get hired into NASA. By the way, the spring 2021 deadline to start in the spring is November 6th. That's coming up. And then if you want to start in the summer, then I think the deadline was like March 5th. So you have a little bit of time. And even now in the virtual world, we have interns. We're working virtually with them. Not nearly as much fun as getting to touch robots and stuff, but we are keeping them busy, and they are learning, and they will come back and do hands-on work. And then the third area that I wanted to share was, when you get to college, consider Engineers Without Borders. So Engineers Without Borders is an organization where you can use your engineering specialty skills as a student to travel the world and help those who need your special expertise. I think traveling the world is critical. I actually think what's called experiential learning is really important for the brain. Your brains right now in high school, all the way through college, are still developing, especially the frontal lobe. And the more experiential things you get, put yourself in real situations, travel, get your hands in there, not just building things, but experiencing culture, experience people. That actually rewires your brain to make you more resilient and more adaptable to change when change happens. Putting yourself in situations you would have never thought you wanted to be in before, do it. Take those risks, get in there, face the hard stuff, get out there in the world and meet other people, and just be humble and learn in a different setting than just the classroom and just the lab. And those are the resources that I would tell you to go and just search that stuff up.
That's wonderful. And I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but you know, there is SWENEXT in some of our
Of course, we're already doing all that. That's a
so I want to make sure that you guys are still getting a little bit of our other SHLA resources through the classroom, wink wink. So there's some things on our website too as well. But absolutely, I absolutely believe and wholeheartedly support you, Tara, and that your parents are super important. I don't know where I would be without my mom, although I didn't explore a STEM career myself necessarily, just in my career period, going into communications. She was the first person to send me things. She's the one on the line. She's always making sure that I'm on point and that I know what's out there. So don't take that for granted. Your parents are bosses. So always start there, right? So I'm going to actually move on to our next section of our session. It is going to be the questions that you all submitted to us to let us know some things you guys were interested in knowing about. So I'm going to set this one up a little bit different, Tara and Ayana. I'm going to just pick which ones I feel best fit the panelists, to see if you guys can give me a good response that you think you can speak from your experience from. And I think you both know a lot. So really, quite honestly, if someone starts, you guys can finish it off. So I'm going to go ahead and go into them now. So the first question that was submitted to us is, how did you know that this was what you wanted to pursue? So I'm going to aim this one at Tara.
When I was in 3rd grade, I either wanted to dig for dinosaurs or be an astronaut. Who doesn't love space and dinosaurs? But the dinosaur thing just dropped off, and space was it. It's in, I don't know. I think it's just imprinted in my DNA. I would watch the astronauts do spacewalks. I would actually watch them do experiments. The experiments were way more fun to me to watch. The floating bubbles and the floating flames and the different animals they would bring up there. I would watch that stuff and think, there's nothing like that on Earth. I want to do that because I can't do that anywhere else. I want to go to space and do that. So that's just what I knew. I mean, I never lost sight of it. It's just, it's me. It's just in me.
Okay. Very nice. And I know, Ayana, you're still figuring out exactly what you want to do. So I am going to go ahead and give this one to you, because I think this is something that would be interesting for you to answer. Although I know you're preparing for college, what is the best way to balance academic life and career we'll apply this to your high school career. So give me some tips that you think will help your fellow Sheilas.
Okay, so definitely my favorite thing, I don't have it with me right now, but my favorite thing is a bullet journal. Pretty much it's like a plan, it's just like a planner. So like a planner works, but I just like actually like getting to design the kind of planner myself because I'm so indecisive. So like if I don't like the planner, I might not use it. So this way I can use any pens I want. And then on top of a planner, using apps like eGenda or Minimalist are like my favorite apps to use. And I can like say them later too in case you want them, because like on top, because some days I just feel so unmotivated. I don't want to write something down, but then I'm on my phone anyways, probably on TikTok anyways. So I can just look at it on my phone. So having like multiple ways to see what you have to do really gets you to do it, because it's so satisfying to just cross it out or cross it out or just swipe and it goes away. And then another big thing that I feel like the best way to balance academic life with career life is, of course, like you have to factor in your friends or like social life. And the best thing for me is just not caring what people think, because once like people started following my business account, I freaked out because I didn't want people to know about it. And because I've gotten reactions on both sides on like friends to it. And it's just don't care what people think, because like what you're doing is probably the best thing for you, and it's probably helping others people too. I help younger students. There's literally like nothing wrong with that. So there's nothing I should care about other people's opinions, and it's all work that's true to me.
Yes. And actually, Tara, I think this would be something you could contribute to as well. So how did you balance your academic and collegiate career?
That's a good question. So like I said, I got hired into NASA after my master's, but I wasn't done yet because I really wanted that PhD in neuroscience. So what I did, guys, again, think outside the box. Even though I got hired at NASA, I applied for PhD programs anyway. And then even as I was moving to NASA, I went and I interviewed for PhD programs that invited me. And then I started working at NASA, and I said no to all of them except one that I really wanted, which was a 30-minute drive from NASA. That was the University of Texas. And then what I did was I deferred them for a year. Sometimes you can do that. You can say, thanks for letting me in. Can I take a year to get back with you and join next year? I deferred for a year and proved to my engineering management that I was a hard worker, good work ethic, paid attention, and gave her a plan. And I said, I would now that I'm a year in, I've proven what I can do. Can I also work with my PhD at the same time? And she was very supportive of that, as long as I didn't, as long as I did fine in both worlds. Now, the PhD director had bigger concerns. He's like, you're going to work full time at NASA and do this PhD program? Like, he didn't believe it. But when I looked him in the eye and told him I was going to do this, then you commit. You've committed. Yes. You don't go back. Yes. You just, that's it. So even when the Columbia accident happened 1 year into my PhD, that was a big tricky thing. The thing is for me is that I loved what I was doing in both cases. I loved my career and I loved my academic life, and both of them were very aggressive and both of them were hard work, but I loved taking it in. Now, what I didn't realize was that, I didn't have a child either, right? So I know there are a lot of women out there who are going to school and working and have a kid at home, because I used to be a professor and they were my students. And I saw what was going on there, and I said, kudos to you. And then I decided to go back to school for archaeology 2 years ago. So here I am now, a mom and a career, and now I'm back in school. So that was even harder. And my child was in like 6th grade. So I had to tell her, this is not how college really works. Like, I know I look stressed out, but don't let this deter you from going to college. But really what you need to do is have supportive people. I have a supportive husband, a supportive friends that even think you're crazy, but just love what you're doing. You're going to own it. You're going to want to do that. You'll find the balance. It's all up to you. No one has 110%. You can't give 110%. You can't give 100% to one thing. You have to recognize that and be okay with the fact that you can only give certain amounts of yourself to everything. You may not be perfect. You may not make straight A's. I failed a couple of times. I haven't no time to tell you how many times I failed. But you just get up and you go, and it's okay. You just keep doing it. You gotta get through the hard stuff.
That is awesome advice. And I think that's something that I took away and gleaned from your conversation. Not only, of course, just the important pieces of you basically taking on 3 roles outside of your other personal roles of taking care of just you. That enough is like a lot, but also knowing when it was time for you to take a break.
Yeah.
Sometimes we push ourselves to our limits and we don't know when to just like take a break and say, you know what, I think I just need a gap year. It's okay, you guys, to take a
Yes.
break and have a gap year. That doesn't mean that
Yes.
you're failing. That doesn't mean that something's wrong. Nope. It just means you need time to really think things through. It's not going to
Yep.
be a perfect science. So
Right.
I love what you said. That is awesome. So the next question that we got from a student is how to know what career will make you satisfied when you can barely figure out what you want for lunch. I thought it was a really interesting question because I do too struggle with what am I going to eat today? So I definitely want to pose this question to you, Tara, again, to see your thoughts on how you can figure out what will make you satisfied in your career.
You know, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer this because I've always known what I wanted to do.
Oh!
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. My daughter doesn't know. She's in 8th grade. So I'm struggling with like her not knowing. I'm like,
Yeah.
is this a thing that people don't know? Yes, of
Mhm.
course it's a thing. It's okay to
Yes.
not know. You know, you don't know what career is going to make you satisfied. And people are changing careers more often these days than ever. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. Again, every time you do something new, your brain rewires itself. It readapts. It makes you more resilient. It gets you out there trying new things. You don't have to commit to one thing now, but while you're in high school, again, try all the different internships, go to the different clubs, step in, step out, talk to your friends, talk to people. Then remember when you get to college, as much as like I never would want to change a major. Like that to me would be like the most horrifying thing in my own mind. But of course, people change majors. When you get in there, you don't like what you're doing, then by all means, now's the time to change. You want to enjoy what you're doing for the rest of your life. So constantly course correct, make the tiny corrections. Sometimes it'll feel like that was a waste of time, that was a waste of money. I honestly don't believe in wasted anything. You're learning from everything. And I'm sure people would love to tell you, and your parents especially, can you make a decision and move on? You know, not necessarily needed to. You just you'll get it once but you can't be living in a bubble forever. You got to be out there meeting people like Ayana. Go talk to Ayana, read her book, and learn about like why me, and what are others like me doing? What's making other people satisfied, and what do I like inside, and what have I forgotten I like? You know, that kind of thing. Talk it out.
Yeah. And actually, that's a great point. And a wonderful transition. Ayana, so how did you manage to find out that you actually wanted to write books? Like that was something that I assume made you very happy and satisfied because there was something missing for you. What made you actually decide to do that? And when did you know like, oh, this is what I was missing?
Yeah, so I think like that kind of stems from my work in years of volunteering at the Air and Space Museum, which is like what started it all with my STEM journey when I was in 3rd grade. So pretty much I started working there freshman year, and then I just knew I loved working with kids and I loved making the connections with them. So it's kind of like I was thinking when thinking I want to be an aeronautical engineer, when it was more like I just love getting to educate others about STEM, make it more accessible. And I think that was kind of like what made me want to write a book, because first off, it's a children's book, which technically means anyone can read it. Adults have learned new things from my book, which I've been very honored about. And so that's why kind of like writing my book, I knew I was satisfied through writing my book because it literally combined business, like learning how to market. I taught myself so much about like marketing channels, binging YouTube videos about that. And then also the arts. I got to make I was in charge of the graphics for everything. They're not up to par, but like with what I can do now, but I know I was able to like just get my foot, step in the water with, get my feet wet with like learning about InDesign and Illustrator and things like that. And yeah, of course, I've always loved drawing. designing, things like that. And then lastly, getting to make those connections of these jobs with things kids can do every day. Especially, that's why one of my favorite characters in the book, of course, is the teacher, because I feel like they're definitely an overlooked STEM job when you think of your science teacher or just any teacher at all that teaches all of these subjects, that has to teach all these subjects at once. So definitely kudos to elementary school teachers. And just the book is a whole combination of everything I've been working towards. So that's definitely what satisfies me lately. These combinations of things is what satisfies me, not just one thing.
I love it. I love it. Have it all. You can have it all.
Exactly. Can't have it all.
Yes. So I think you guys kind of briefly touched on this, but I kind of wanted to explore it. Maybe you want to expand on this conversation, but what were some personal struggles that you all had in STEM? A variety of reasons. I think we've named motherhood can be an obstacle sometimes, balancing multiple roles. Ayanna, I think yours is speaking to issues of discrimination or prejudice or things that you might face in STEM. So let's just explore that a little bit. Since we kind of covered it, we can touch on this briefly and then move on to the next question. So I think I'll start with Tara.
Okay, so for me, I didn't realize that gender was a thing. For honestly, this is going to sound so naive, how you can go through an engineering degree and go to work at NASA. And I told you that I was like one of only 2 women that started. It was all white men in senior, very senior. So for me, I felt like I'm too young to be here. I was 25, I think, when I started at NASA or something like that. And then 1 year in, they put me in charge of these groups of teams that have people who have been there a lot longer than I had. And so for me, the imposter syndrome set in really quick. And I had never been trained on leadership. I wasn't really trained on situational awareness. I was just like, I see it now, it was like was a huge opportunity, but look, in the moment, it never occurred to me that, oh, I got this, let me do this. So the challenge for me has always been mostly my age. There was a point, but I had a really my manager that I told you about in engineering was a African-American math major, female. And she now I know, but I didn't know this at the time. Now I know she was molding me and was my mentor when I didn't even ask, and she was making me the better engineer. Then when I moved to space station science, my manager, female, made us read the book Lean In. She made all of the women read the book Lean In. And I was like, I'll get to that, whatever. I'll get to that. That's not, I don't have any issues with female, whatever. I'm good, right? She would send me little emails. She would say, you're doing what a female would do in this situation. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? She would like call me out. So finally I read the book. And when I read the book, I realized, oh, I kind of see, like, it was the first time I had ever thought maybe this stuff, some of these challenges I've had, some of the barriers I've had to overcome was because of being a female or because of what, though that was the first time I really realized maybe life might have been easier if I were someone else. Yeah. But I just kept moving. I mean, nothing has really, I don't think that anything has stopped me. You just keep going because that's what I want. It's what I want to do. So I just keep, no one's ever blatantly, to my only 1 or 2 people have been blatantly awful to me about sexism things. And I just kind of blow that off. You have to, because your world is so much bigger than their comment. Your goal is so much bigger than their comment. You are going to be an engineer. You are going to create important things for humanity. It's much bigger than their comment. Although the world right now is more than a comment for many of us.
Yes, absolutely. Ayanna, did you care to respond?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's so cool, Tara, how like you got a mentor without even like getting to see that. So, and I definitely want to purchase that book you mentioned because it sounds so great.
Very good.
Yes, Very, very, very much important to the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and take this time to prepare you guys for the next section of our session. In that next session, we'll be doing live Q&A. So go ahead and begin to start typing your questions within the chat. We are running a little over, so we want to make sure that we get to at least a few of your questions. So go ahead and begin asking those in the chat. And I'm going to end this section with our final question. What advice do you have regarding STEM internship positions? And I'll actually let whoever wants to start. I'm kind of leaning more towards maybe Tara.
Okay. My advice is take them all, apply for them all, and then juggle them, apply for them all. So I applied for one at the Kennedy Space Center, one of the only ones for biology students when I was an undergraduate. And I didn't get in. And when I was feeling pretty low about that, I was walking around campus and I looked up at the door and there was a picture of a space shuttle and a name of a program that says the Ronald McNair Scholars Program, McNair Scholars Program. And I was like, I need to go in here. And as it turns out, it was an internship and an opportunity to apply to be part of a group for whose job is called the McNair Scholars Program. Their whole purpose is to take minority, low-income, first-generation, underrepresented STEM students and get them through first internships within the university, and then help get you to graduate school, teach you what it takes to become a graduate, go on to the next level, teach you about GREs, how to write essays for applications for college graduate programs. I joined that and it changed my life. I'm still part of the group and I'm still mentoring students. And if I hadn't have applied, if I'd have gotten that first position at Kennedy Space Center, I would have never known about this. I was kind of feeling down and low. I almost didn't apply because I thought they weren't going to take me. No, they took me. And then I reapplied to the Kennedy Space Center one next year and I got it. So when one door closes, you're going to get rejected a lot. It's okay. You're going to feel bad. It's okay to grieve. Take that minute, breathe, grieve, but keep sending out stuff. Somebody wants you, and it's going to change your life. So take every opportunity.
And Ayana, I know you're holding down quite a few wonderful roles. So would you care to share some advice?
Yes, yeah, I definitely agree with Tara when she means by taking it all, because like I'm actually in, I haven't told a lot of people this, but I'm actually in like technically like two like paying positions on top of like the whole like Gaia Stars account thing, and then on top of college and school, and it like does seem stressful, but when you like really, I think like when you really think about time management, you have to think about how much time you're really just on your phone, or you're really just doing things, like you're really just procrastinating versus actually like experiencing your free time and things like that, because that definitely helps with time management. And I think other advice is definitely like when people say, when you have people higher than you or people already in their careers that say, I am a resource to you, make sure you start that email, or you just remember that at the back of your mind. Because I've always been uncertain when people say that's like, oh, like, what do I do? Because I can't ask them questions my whole life. I'm already like thinking of a way, especially towards college apps, I'm thinking of a way to use all of the engineers that I've reached out to help me out with something. And I'm really excited.
Yes, and I think that's another thing, and also a cautionary tale for myself. I have a tendency to not, when people say, "Oh, let me be a resource to you," I shy away for some odd reason. So, if a lot of you are like me, please, when somebody says they are a resource to you, do not feel like you're stressing them. Do not feel like you are bothering them. They said that for a reason. Take advantage of it. So great advice, Ayana. So we are going to go ahead and move on to the next section. Thank you so much for all of your responses. I think we all gleaned a lot from them. It's wonderful to know just the vast wealth of experience and knowledge you all have. So I know I took something away for myself as well. So now we're going to go ahead and begin our live Q&A and give you all the opportunity to ask any questions. And it looks like for the most part, maybe all your questions have been answered, which is good news. But I'm going to give you about a minute to type a question if you have one. Okay, so funny enough, you guys don't have any questions. So Tara, Ayana, our job here is done. we
have
did
one
our job.
question.
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
So someone said like, what are good resources to find high school internships?
Okay. Okay, just came in. What are good resources to find internships? So Tara, maybe, or Ayana?
I put that one to Ayana. She's doing them right now. She's
Yeah, there you
excited. Let's
go.
go.
Okay, so yeah, so I think a good way to find high school internships is to reach out to nonprofits. If you're doing like volunteer work and you just see that like your hours, you don't need any more hours right now, then like take the chance and ask for that paying position, or just ask them maybe like if they need like a program assistant. That's a really common, a universal role I've seen at least throughout nonprofits, so that can really help. And then another thing is just applying. Yeah, just apply a lot to like any real jobs, or maybe something I thought of doing was reaching out to more organizations like STEM organizations or buildings in your area. For example, I'll have like the Airbus first and Boeing, and there's like a company called Aerospace right by my house. So I feel like if you kind of like have these buildings near your house too, then definitely reach out to them and ask them if they have anything else, because I'm sure they don't have a lot of people emailing them like that, especially a high schooler. So that might be really impressive.
Awesome, Ayana. Good response. And I do have another question for you. A good way to find, or good advice on how to find NASA specific internships and or scholarships.
Advice for getting a NASA internship is, I see that
Mhm.
question. Advice, apply. Don't rule yourself out. Let someone else rule you out. But if you don't apply, if you don't play, you can't win. I will say that I was on a call with the internship office a few days ago, and I was stunned at how many applicants we get versus how many are accepted. I don't know if I should tell you that number. It might deter you from applying. So I'm not going to tell you that. If you want to know, you can contact Marquita, and I guess I'll talk to you about it. But the best thing you can do is apply. My goodness, you won't get in if you don't. Also, you could, like Ayana said, it doesn't have to be a NASA particular internship. If you're feeling super patriotic and you want to be a federal employee and you want to work for NASA, that's one thing. That's the NASA internship. But NASA is part of an aerospace family. We're a space family. So like Ayana said, Boeing, Aerospace, SpaceX, Blue Origin, Space Tango. I mean, there are all these groups now, small businesses to big businesses who need interns. It's not just the federal government. So what you need to do is go out there and find out who all the NASA companies are that work for NASA. They're out there. All of them that are out there, Kennedy Space Center, they're called contractors. Who are the NASA contractors? Go to their sites and apply for internships. Even a place called Wiley Laboratories. They do things like biomedical engineering. Look them up and apply.
That's good. Look and apply. So we do have a couple more questions coming in, and I noticed that we are over just by a little bit. And I love you guys' advice and answers, so I don't want to leave anyone out, but we're going to go ahead and move to 30-second responses to these questions. I'm going to start with this one. For those of us who do want to pursue a STEM career that is outside of the box, when applying to colleges, how should we pick a major? And I will let this be open to both of you.
Okay, I think I can answer this one really quickly, but like, because I'm going through that right now. For the colleges, I'm applying for USC. They have an arts, business, and technology and innovation major. Stanford has like 2 majors like that, but like science, technology, and society. And then Georgia Tech has computational media. And then, but otherwise, I would just either pick an interdisciplinary major or just business if they don't have any of that, because you could always mix and match concentrations when you're actually in college.
And quickly pick one that you're going to want to go to classes for. You are inevitably going to have an 8 a.m. class. Are you going to want to love that class, or are you going to hate it? So pick a major you're going to like, that you're going to want to have to skip fun things to go and study for.
Preach. Don't torture yourself, guys.
That 8 a.m. is going to be a lab too, trust me.
Woo. Very good responses. Next question. How would you approach a situation where there's a large gender imbalance? Ayana, would you like to chime in on this one?
Sure. So I would say like, if, yeah, because I've been in that with my aerospace class, I would just say don't second guess yourself or participate as much as you can because it makes guys mad and it's kind of funny. And definitely try to be, hopefully you have like a guy friend in those classes because it makes it like a lot easier to like be friends with the other guys, because some guys in STEM are actually like funny and chill, but there will be others that try to say your answer is wrong when it's like a fact. But yeah, just like make sure to stay true to yourself and don't pretend that like you don't know what you're doing if you do know.
Right.
Oh God, yeah. Do your thing. Just do your thing. Don't worry about them. Then the best revenge is proving that you got this. You got this. So just everything Ayana said, and you got this. Keep going.
Best revenge is success.
That's right.
So,
Just gotta be patient. It'll come.
so I think that was our last question. I think there's one out here that I think we'll go ahead and close with. It is for you, Tara. I know I've been picking on you a lot tonight, but what's next for you? And actually, you know what, Ayan, I think this is a good time for you to tell us a little bit about your goals. I know you spoke a bit earlier, but you might have some other ones. So, so let's go ahead and ask this question. What's next for you? What are your goals? And then Ayana, you got a little bit of time to respond as well. So I'll start with you.
Well, right now I'm going through the astronaut application process again. The application closed in March. I made it through the first rung. We're down to the 10% now, and then I've got to wait it out like through next year and see how things go. So I'll know by next year if I'll be an astronaut or if I will stay associate chief scientist for NASA. Right now, I'm loving what I'm doing. I get to work with scientists around the world in microgravity research on the International Space Station. Maybe one day I'll get to launch to space through, if not NASA, then other companies that are starting up and sending private astronauts. And I'm just going to keep enjoying life.
Wow, enjoying life is important.
Yeah.
It really is. And Ayana, are you ready?
Yeah. So my goals right now is to first hopefully be like Teen Vogue's 21 under 21 list, or make some kind of list like that. I've always wanted to. And then my second goal is to try to go to college full ride or just have a ton of scholarships. And third goal is try to publish another book or release something along the lines of a collaborative book before I graduate.
All right, now those are some. Let me tell you, when I was your age, I would have loved to have your ambition and your energy. You are amazing. I love
proud.
it.
Yeah.
You are
So
one rocking young lady, and I appreciate all of the things that you are contributing back to your community, back to the world. It's amazing. Like, you set you some really good goals, so I love that. All right. Well, I think that is going to close out our live Q&A. Thank you all for asking those questions in the chat. Thank you to my moderators for getting those questions over to me as well. And I just want to go ahead and wrap us up really fast, guys. Thank you so much for participating in the Q&A sessions. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the learning outcomes one more time, just so you can maybe potentially write them down in your note-taking handout, just so you can remind yourself of what the session was about. You should now be able to recognize that taking on challenges is inherent in the adventure of obtaining a successful engineering degree. You should now be able to recognize that there are many possible careers in engineering that encompass many STEM subdisciplines. You will also now be able to recognize the wide range of valuable resources that are available when preparing for a future in STEM. And now you should be able to define what STEMinism means to you. I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar with saying a very special thank you to our sponsors, because without them, this would not be possible. And we love their generous support of this program and many others like it. We would like to thank Motorola Solutions Foundation, Lockheed Martin, General Motors, and Cisco Systems for signing on to do this SHLA event with us. I want to give you a quick rundown of what to expect for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we have the Exploring Career Pathways panel. We'll be back together again in the evening. Coming up, we have our October 22nd event, Leading from the Passenger Seat, Practicing Leadership Skills at Every Level, with Anita Hostin. Right immediately following that session, you'll be right in with us again for SWE Next Connect, Leadership Skills for College College, which is our mentoring platform that you all have signed up to participate in. So that should be very exciting. And then we'll wrap up the week on October 23rd with our Networking with Fellow Sheilas Reflect and Recap. And then we'll meet a little bit later in November to close out our program with our Sheila graduation ceremony. And for the We20 award winners, you guys will be able to participate in an award winner pizza party also on November 12th. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know that we are here for you. So if you have any questions, you want to talk with any of our panelists that we've had, especially Tara and Ayana, because I want to thank them for being with us tonight and giving us such great responses and replies to all of those questions that we asked. I really appreciate your time, your experience, your energy. It is so much appreciated. I'm sure each of you all can agree. You can connect with them after this session by emailing us at swenext@swe.org. We'll also make that note-taking handout available within the Sheila classroom. We'll label it like we do all the others, where it'll be labeled under the topic classwork, and then it'll be in the appropriate folder. We'll label that Sheila program cohort, so you'll have access to that. It'll give you every single session. You can create your goals, get your resources written down, and any other additional things you might want to glean from each session. You'll be able to have it so you won't forget it. Also, again, if you have any questions for myself or any of the HQ staff, that would be Cameron, Mary, or Gisela, you can email us there as well. Again, thank you all for joining us this evening for this live learning opportunity. Fireside chat. We will be seeing you all again very, very soon. Also, before I go, because I almost forgot to remind you guys, we do have a music playlist that we have available, and I will give you all access to it through the classroom. So no worries there, because I know you guys love your good jam. So I will make sure that you guys have that as well. So wanted to throw that out there before we close. So we'll be jamming out again right before we start our session tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a great one.